Well, you've done it. You've helped me accomplish 40,000 downloads on Spreaker in 10 years, which means, folks, we are averaging 4,000 listeners a year in the last 10 years. My next quest is to get 10,000 more for 50,000. That would be a feature, a goal. And I know you can help me achieve it just by clicking the listen, click by hitting the subscribe, click by sharing this and continuing to help me grow this podcast. I've already believed this podcast has more legs than I do, but now we're starting to see it every day, even more. When you see folks like Signal, the polling company, tweeting out your show and getting some reposts and likes. When you see podcastguest.com and Podmatch liking your stuff and putting you on their newsletter and mailing list, and there's a lot. And you know, the irony is I work at a radio station, but I never really promote my podcast on radio, because when I fill in for an Al Gattullo and we send our prayers to Al and his family for the loss of his mother-in-law, but when I fill in on these different things, or I guest on one of these different shows, or I'm commenting, I don't usually make it about the podcast, because that's just going to happen naturally. And maybe I should mention 40,000 plays for One Leg Up with Alex Garrett, but I like to keep that part of it separate from the actual radio dial. But here we are, 40,000 plays later, many a name change later, and I'm just fired up to get to 50,000. I don't know about you, but I definitely am. I'm fired up to also get to see another leap year. You know, I did the whole leap day thing yesterday for February 29th. But yeah, that fires me up to go another 4 years and see how life goes and see how health can go in the next 4 years and stay healthy as best as I can. So all these little benchmarks become benchmarks when you realize they are inspiring you to keep going in your craft, in your passion. 40,000 may seem like nothing to a Joe Rogan or even a Pat McAfee who continues to get millions of listeners. But for a smaller content creator, it means a lot. And for someone who tries to stay on the ground and be in a small town kind of mind with this, knowing that, you know, family and friends listen, fiance Gabby listens, but I don't really know how outside of that box we get on this podcast. I know demographically and geographically we are listened to outside of America, which is just really special. But at the end of the day, 40K or not, I'm still going to be that backpack toting rollerblader through the city of New York, and proud of that. But we have hit 40,000 downloads, and that is my update today. And I'm so proud of it, so excited for it, so excited to get more guests along the way. And maybe, just maybe, we hit 50,000, not by the end of the year, but maybe by next leap year or earlier, sooner. Let's see how much this podcast can grow, can glow up, if you will. I hate the word blow up. Can glow up, if you will. Because, as Bruce Springsteen once sang, I was born blue and weathered, but burst just like a supernova. And that's thanks to you, the listener, the friend, the colleague, the guest, my fiance. Others in the romantic field the last 10 years have been encouraged me along the way as well. Gotta say that. But Gabby is definitely my number one fan and supporter, as she has to listen to me even when I'm home doing this. Although Mom will always be number one. I guess Gabby is... They're equally a number one fan. That is possible. That is possible. And in these 10 years of 40,000 downloads, can't forget that my stepdad, Vic, set up a studio in my Queens home with microphone and mic stand. And boy, during that pandemic, we cranked out a lot of these, didn't we? 4 years ago. Radio Hope, Ed, and others. Caramel Conservative and others. And then, of course, there was Pops. And I'll never forget when my Pops told me, you're one of 7,000 podcasters. How will you stick out? Pops, I'm trying to figure that out every day. But as long as we keep putting something down, laying the tracks down for a podcast, getting that interview done, it's all growing to something bigger. We may not see it yet collectively, but there's something out there bigger. I believe that. I have to believe that for the show, that exists also. So for those who helped make 40,000 downloads possible, I thank you. And I look forward to keeping this journey going. And if you want to financially support along the next 10,000 downloads, drop in my Venmo in the description as well for you to maybe help support along the way. But listening, even one listener, I'm so grateful for. Here on the Alex Garrett Podcast Network.